What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? My name is Dillard, coming back at you with another podcast. Today's podcast is the Barnyard podcast number 31. We're going to be uploading this before the postseason actually begins, early on Tuesday morning. Hope all of you guys are having a fantastic day so far and are prepared for some postseason baseball. Sorry, I can't speak English today. But I do want to apologize before we go ahead and go into this. I haven't done a podcast in roughly a week or more, and I actually wasn't able to upload some Yankee highlight videos, which one included a game where the Yankees scored, I think it was at least over 10 runs. So I wasn't able to upload any of that because I was having internet issues for like at least 3 or 4 days, which also conflicted with homework because I'm in college. So it was just a big nightmare. So I do apologize for the inactivity on the YouTube channel. But we're back doing the podcast. We'll probably be doing a lot more podcasts than usual. Usually we do like one every like 3 to 4 days. But with the postseason coming out, I really want to try and get a podcast out every time there's a game, at least every time that there's a Yankee game, like every time there's a Yankee game that's over, and I want to talk about it. So we'll see how well that goes, as long as we're not, too busy to be able to maintain consistency with that. But we got a lot of topics to talk about today before the postseason actually starts. The first thing we want to talk about is our predictions for the MVPs, Rookie of the Years, and also the Cy Youngs for both the American League and National League. Then we also want to talk about the postseason in general. We'll briefly go through each individual series and kind of make our own brackets as we go along. And then last but not least, we'll also talk about the Yankees, talk about the Indians, talk about some key factors to look at as far as the Indians is concerned, what their weak points are, what their strong points are, and then kind of flip the script and talk about the Yankees a little bit. But anyways, let's go ahead and start off with MVP. We'll go ahead and go through, AL MVP, NL MVP, then we'll move to AL Rookie of the Year, NL Rookie of the Year, and then AL Cy Young, NL Cy Young. But go ahead and give me your AL MVP and your NL MVP, and tell me why you think that. And I know that our AL MVP is going to be very different. I think our NL MVP might be probably the same, but we'll definitely see.
Well, the reason why is because you and I have a fundamental disagreement with the MVP voting process in the American League, but we'll go into that. So I think, in my humble opinion, and who cares about that, other than me and my dad, I think that if I had a vote in an unbiased world right now, I would give a vote personally to DJ LeMahieu for this season that he has constructed here for American League MVP. Now, he may not have the most amazing numbers in the universe, but I feel like he's got a pretty good. Would you say that he's got a pretty good F-WAR? I mean, I'm pretty sure he was one of the top.
I mean, he was fourth in F-WAR, and I'm pretty sure, if I'm not mistaken, he was first in B-WAR among qualified positional players.
Yes,
so yes, he's had a very, very, very good season.
He is ahead of 60 RBIs Abreu in terms of that. And now I thought Trout was going to win, but I feel like Trout has really dropped off the table recently. Like, I expected Trout to hit over 300 this year. He didn't do that, but a bunch of other things. I mean, if you look at the numbers, so I like to just look at the overall picture of it. Now, I like to attach a story to it also, the fact that LeMahieu started the season with COVID, middle of the season got injured, still came back from both those times and still come back to hit 364. He led the American League and all of baseball in average, led the American League in on-base percentage, OPS plus. He had fourth in F-WAR. I mean, this guy, all he does is hit. I mean, you were telling me earlier that, the reason why you wouldn't say is because he doesn't walk, but in reality, he had almost as many walks as strikeouts. Now, that could just be because he doesn't ever strike out. But, I mean, he had 18 walks and 21 strikeouts in 50 games. I mean, that's like Joe DiMaggio levels of numbers right there. The guy just never strikes out. It's crazy to me. And my NL MVP, which I believe you agree with, would have to be Freddie Freeman. I'm pretty sure that is what you are doing here. I mean, like, the guy just put together a torrid year. I'm pretty sure he led the NL in runs scored easily going away. I think that he also led. I want to pull up his numbers real quickly because I don't want to talk about something I don't know about here. So let me pull this up. I mean, he hit 341, which is like he's second in batting average to Soto, I believe, in the National League. He led the NL in doubles and runs. He had a 1.1 OPS, which is just, frankly, that's like Bryce Harper 15 numbers right there. dude's just a crazy, crazy player. Had a crazy good year. Absolutely deserves it, in my opinion.
Hmm. Definitely. Obviously, you know what I'm going to say about the National League, but we'll go ahead and start with the American League for me. Uh, I mean, like if DJ LeMayo comes out and wins MVP, as a Yankee fan alone, I am not going to be disappointed. Like I'm not going to be
Oh yeah.
upset or anything. I'm going to embrace it because I'm pretty sure the last time a Yankee won the batting title and an MVP was Mickey Mantle, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong about that, but I'm pretty sure Mickey Mantle was the last Yankee to ever do that. So
Well, Freddie Williams
it
MVP.
would it would be beyond impressive. I would love it.
Wait, did A-Rod win it? No, he won the home run title.
Yeah, it hasn't been done since Mickey Mantle. I know that
Oh yeah,
much.
62.
But like I said, it'd be incredible if DJ did. I mean, DJ did everything he could. Like we were talking about the walk rates. It's just like there's literally a reason why the term DJ just hits is pretty much trademarked by Yankee Twitter because the guy he never walks, but he doesn't need to walk because all he does is hit singles. I
Well,
mean,
he
that's
does
just what he
walk.
does. But I guess what I'm trying to say is, while I would not complain about DJ LeMayu winning MVP, and while I do think there are some other candidates that you could definitely argue for, such as Jose Ramirez, which completely destroyed everybody in the American League for F4. I mean, he had a 3.4 F4. The closest one to him was Anthony Rendon with a 2.8, although I don't think Jose Ramirez deserves the MVP, but I do think he's a reasonable candidate for it. If I had to choose between anyone, it's got to be Shane Bieber. And I know what you're going to say. I know you've told me about,
It's a trash mockery.
you're going to tell me this because how about you tell me, or you tell the people your own reasoning, so I don't have to explain it. You explain yourself why you
So
don't
my
think so.
reasoning as to why I think that you should not give a pitcher the MVP for a season in such a way like it is today is essentially the same reason why people don't want to put catchers in MVP voting, and also the same reason they don't want to put closers and setup people in Cy Young voting, because essentially he's only pitching once every 5 days, and in a lot of situations, I feel like, despite the fact that you can make an argument and say that, oh well, the batting numbers don't count either because it's a shortened season, whereas in reality, I feel like the reason why you get usually you get one Cy Young winner, like you know who the clear cut favorite is because over the course of the season, it's grueling. It's a long season. There's a reason why you go through so many games to prove who a pitcher is to be the top pitcher. And that's like, I feel like, despite the fact that he has shown you so much flashes of greatness in this short time span, I feel like that we've only really played a third of a season. I want to see him do this over the full course of a season. I want to see his. I'm knocking my drink over here while I try to do this. I wanted to see what his numbers are in the previous seasons. I mean, can you really tell me that this guy is winning the? Uh, I know he's winning the Cy Young, obviously, but can you tell me that he's an MVP candidate for only pitching 77 innings? I mean, I can't tell you that. I don't think that's like I couldn't do it. I mean, yes, he won the Triple Crown. I feel like that, yes, but it wasn't really that much of a landslide runaway. I mean, he has a great ERA. It's just that he only got one more win than Garrett Cole, and I mean, I'm just saying I don't think wins matter. I I can't give it to you. Like, yes, he had a great strikeout to nine. Again, Garrett Cole was right behind him. I mean, I can't tell you much about the whole sabermetric stats. I mean, he struck out a ton of people, but I mean, I
Okay,
could feel like you can make the same strange year argument for batters too. There was a lot of people he just ran over.
so here's what I'm going to say about that because you mentioned Garrett Cole. While Garrett Cole was 7-3 and Shane Bieber's 8-1, even though pitching wins don't matter, you did want to clarify that. Shane Bieber winning the Triple Crown is obviously very impressive. It doesn't happen very often. But at the flip side, as much as Garrett Cole strikes out, he didn't strike out more than 12 hitters per nine. Shane Bieber was striking out 14.20 hitters per nine, which is just insanity. The one thing I can say about Shane Bieber is he usually does. I mean, it's not terrible, but there are definitely pitchers who have limited the walks a lot more than Shane Bieber has. But Shane Bieber never gives up any home
Ryan to
runs.
the Hall of Fame.
Shane Bieber has a .81 home run per nine, which is in the best of the league. ERA 1.63, FIP 2.04, xFIP 2.04. If you go to the advanced metrics, he has a 0.87 WHIP, a 2.52 CR, which these are all pretty much the best in the American League. And then the thing that really sticks out to me is the F4. He was first in F4 with a 3.2 F4, Can you guess who was second in F4? Actually, there was two people that tied for second with a 2.1 F4. More than one win, more than one full win behind Shane Bieber was Zach Greinke and your favorite, Kenta Maeda, who's actually been having a very, very good season. But on the flip side, of this, because I have no idea, to be honest with you.
Dallas Keuchel is the second place in American League ERA this year with a 1.99 ERA.
Well, that's what happens when you give up ground balls and you get lucky. But kind of going back, that's not a shot to Keuchel. Keuchel's a very interesting pitcher, a very entertaining pitcher to win. But the point is, then I also go to B-War, because I know a lot of people were like, well, a lot of people were downplaying what DJ LeMahieu did, and they were like, well, did you see what DJ LeMahieu's B-War is? Because his B-War is definitely higher than his F-War is. And B-War pretty much factors in defense more than F-War does. They're different. They have their own unique qualities, and it's definitely good to look at both of them instead of just one and cherry picking the stats. You want to look at the bigger picture and not the smaller picture. You know what I mean? You want to fill the puzzle out and not just look at one piece of the puzzle. So I got to look at that and say, if we're taking into effect not only positional players but pitching players, the only player in the entire league that had a higher B-War than Shane Bieber was Mookie Betts. That means that Shane Bieber, with a 3.2 B-War, had the highest B-War in the American League among qualified not only positional players, but pitchers as well. And that speaks a lot of volumes. And that's kind of my whole argument for Shane Bieber. He just has so much. The fact that he is worth that much in WAR, both F-WAR and B-WAR as a pitcher, that just speaks volumes about his performance. And the thing is, a lot of people always complain that, he pitches he pitches against teams like the Tigers and he pitches against teams like the Royals. And it's like, did you forget that there's also the Twins, and you have the Twins, and then you also have the White Sox in the same division, who have both been arguably very, very good baseball teams? Like, that division was just sweat and tears. Like, that was one of those divisions where it just kind of came down to the last week on who's going to win. Like, you weren't sure, even midway or like 90% through who was going to win that division. It was going to be like a last few game scenario. So that's why. And, like I said, if DJ goes out and wins MVP, I'm not going to cry about it. There's several people I think that, we can talk about, such as J Ram or even Anthony Rendon for that matter. But as far as I look at it, most of the time I would agree and say that most of the time I don't think pitchers deserve the not the pitching crown, but don't deserve MVP. But this is one of the few occasions where I have to be on Shane Bieber's side. And then going forward, because I think that's pretty much all I have to say about Bieber.
Yeah,
I mean, you covered it, Freddie Freeman. Realistically, I want Tatis.
You have nothing to say about the NL because it's so easy. But we're over here arguing about the NL because it's a tight race. It's close.
I want Tatis to win because I like Tatis, but if I'm looking at a numbers perspective, it's got to be Freddie. Freddie outperforms Tatis in every metric. And here's the thing. I know that Soto pretty much leads in every big metric, like WRC plus and WOBA, and Freddie Freeman's pretty much second behind him. But Freddie Freeman also has a 3.3 F4, while Soto only has a 2.4 F4. And then if you go through the wins above replacements, Freeman is currently sitting at 2.9, where Soto I can't even see on the top 10 list. So, and if you also take in effect that Freddie Freeman also had more plate appearances than Soto, if you were to, I don't know, for example, go up to minimum plate appearances and go through everybody who had at least 200 plate appearances or more, because Soto didn't even have over 200 plate appearances. You type that in, you make those adjustments, and pretty much Freddie Freeman's leading in every offensive category. So I think it's a no-brainer. I want it to be Tatis just because I like Tatis, but if I'm looking at it from a metric standpoint and not a bias because I really like Tatis and I know Tatis is good for baseball. I'm not saying Freeman's not good for baseball, but obviously we know, we obviously know that Tatis has pretty much been the face of baseball this year. But he still hasn't been better than Freeman. I mean, it's point blank and simple. I don't really have to go too much into detail about that. But now we kind of go forward. I think we should talk about the Cy Young now. So I think it's pretty obvious that Shane Bieber's got to win. So we don't really have to talk about the Cy Young in the AL because I already talked about why I think he should be MVP.
I don't think if you can make an argument for anybody else winning American League Cy Young, leave. Just get out.
So let's talk about NL because it's actually it's actually tougher than you think it is. It's got to be between Darvish, DeGrom, and Bauer. But I'm going to let you go first and tell me what you think.
Okay, I think Bauer deserves to be the National League Cy Young Award winner, and that is basically because the fact that I really like his performance this year. He's a really dominant pitcher. I mean, I feel like that, you know, I feel like it's a weird year. I mean, obviously, DeGrom is the most dominant pitcher in the NL, but you know what? He really didn't get the results he needed to get. I mean, Bauer and Darvish were pitching out of their freaking minds the entire year. I think that to me, the biggest thing is the fact that I think if you look at Bauer and like, I need to go pull up his stats really quickly because I saw like a couple really scary statistics from him.
Mm-hmm.
I was one. I forget what it was though. I think it was. I forget it. Hold on. BB Ref is being really silly right now. His WHIP was a .795 this year. He only gave up 5 hits per 9. Like that's nuts. How do you do that? That's crazy to me.
Mm-hmm.
I think he had the lowest ERA in the NL this year. His win-loss numbers didn't tell the full story. I mean, that was really silly to me. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, just nuts. I mean, anytime you have a whip that approaches Pedro Martinez, you're doing something that's really good.
Mm-hmm.
I like whip. Whip was my basis of argument of why I thought Cole should have won the Cy Young over Verlander last year, except for the fact that Verlander pitched a no-hitter. But I feel like that swayed the voters. But I feel like that when you put up a season that dominant, like it's not so much like, I guess whip. If you have a lot of strikeouts, it's like I don't think they had a great defense behind him, but I mean, like clearly he was preventing runs, keeping people off the base paths, not giving up any hits ever to anybody. And I feel like when you're doing that, I feel like that you deserve to be the Cy Young Award winner. I feel like
Definitely.
I know what I feel like I know what your answer is going to be, and it's a shame that Darvish gets no recognition in this segment. But I feel like that it's definitely, for me, it's Trevor Bauer.
Okay.
Also because he also makes fun of Houston. That's really cool.
It's really hard for me to pick because, like I said, you can make a case for Bauer, DeGrom, and Darvish. Because if you go through through all the basic analytics, and you go through all the advanced analytics, each pitcher is leading in different categories. For example, DeGrom has the strikeouts. Darvish has, allows less walks. Darvish allows less home runs. The lowest ERAs goes to Bauer. The lowest FIP goes to Darvish. The lowest xFIP goes to DeGrom. The higher F4 goes to Darvish. And then we go to WHIP, obviously.
Bauer.
So it is Bauer, correct? Yes. Okay. I don't know why Fangraphs was doing that. So yeah, point 79 WHIP. So Bauer's got that in the bag. And then you go to Sierra. Sierra goes to DeGrom. I mean, it's a very tough argument. And then you even go to B-War, and it's like DeGrom's a 2.5. Darvish 2.6 and a Bauer is 2.7. It's like it's so close. Like I don't think anyone's running away with this. Like this is a very tough decision to make.
All right, I want to give.
I've really been thinking about this for a while, but I think because I'm not the biggest fan of ERA because I don't think it tells the whole story. But I will say that obviously, even though it's not that big of a difference, and that's why I think nobody's going to run away with this award because, Darvish is only behind Bauer and B-War by .1, which isn't that significant at all.
I feel like at that point you got to go somewhere else. So
I feel like I have to give it to Darvish because Darvish does have the higher F-WAR by .5. And although Bauer does strike out more, Darvish also allows less home runs, walks less, has a better FIP, has a better xFIP, and has a better... Actually, I might be lying about this one. Okay, so Bauer does have a higher Sierra, or a better Sierra, I should say. So, I mean, like I said, like it's really difficult, and that's why I say like I could probably say this over and over again. I probably sound like a broken record, but it's just none of these 3 pitchers are gonna win this by a landslide. It's very close. But if I have to, but if
I feel it's gonna come down to second place votes. I feel like it will. It will come down to second and third place votes.
Honestly, if I have to go with it, I mean, I respect your decision for Bauer. I think you can make an argument for either 3. If any of them win, I'm not going to complain because this is a harder decision than you could ever imagine. But just based off of the F4 and the fact that Darvish has a better FIP and a better a better FIP than Bauer does. Although his xFIP isn't better than DeGrom, it is better than Trevor Bauer's. I got to go with Darvish simply because of the F4. Like I said, the B-WAR is only 0.1 difference, but if we look at the F4, Darvish has a full 0.5 wins above Bauer, which isn't that crazy, but I mean, he still led the National League in, F4 with 3.0, and the closest one to him was DeGrom and Trevor Bauer. DeGrom had 2.6 and Bauer had 2.5, so it really just comes down to WAR, wins. That's it. That's the only thing that I can, come down to it, and hopefully nobody comes and attacks my head, especially Mets fans, because I do love DeGrom, and obviously I really do like Bauer. I think he's good for the game, but
I don't think anyone
it's
really
tough.
thinks.
It's really tough.
I don't think anybody really thinks it's DeGrom's at this point. I'm sorry. Let me ask you a question to improve my argument.
Okay.
All right. So Trevor Bauer has a .7945 WHIP.
Mm-hmm.
Where does that rank all time single season for WHIP in a all time? Where do you think that lands all time single season for a WHIP?
Probably top 5, I imagine, for a starter.
It is exactly for a starter. It is exactly number 5 all time. Which is, do you want to know what's really funny about this list? Is I just noticed this now while looking at it. Do you know who's number 2 on this list? You want to take a guess who's number 2 on this list?
Oh man, you just tell me. I have no idea, to be honest with you.
Kenta Maeda, 2020.
Wow.
I know. I just saw this now. He's number 2 all time behind Pedro Martinez.
That's incredible.
His 750 this year. How does it even happen?
He's just had a really, really good season this year, even though he won't win Cy Young.
The point is that the point I'm trying to make is that Trevor Bauer's season last year, in terms of walks, hits, and innings pitched, is better than Verlander's Cy Young Award season last year. So that's why I think he should definitely get it this year. I'm looking at the rest of it. Shane Bieber's 28 this year, very solid, very solid. Shane Bieber has beat out Cy Young for 28th spot now. Crazy.
Yeah, but I mean, we could talk about it all day, but I think it's fair to say I think it's any of their game. Each one leads in different statistics, different categories, so you can make the argument for either or. But this is the most interesting one. Rookie of the years for the AL and the NL. The NL was a little more difficult, but the AL was, I think the AL was kind of quite obvious for me at least. And it's a shame that he doesn't get enough attention, but you go ahead and go first.
I got nothing. I wasn't paying any attention to rookies this year.
Okay, so
is it the guy from Seattle?
Yes, it is. Kyle Lewis. He's got to win the Rookie of the Year. There's no excuse. 1.7 F4, 126 WRC plus, 349 WOBA. Gets on base a lot. Let's look at his slugging, or not his slugging, his OPS. I mean, an 801 OPS is definitely above league average. I mean, the guy was just he's a good, solid above average hitter. In terms of WRC plus, he was 26% above league average as a rookie. So, I mean, I think it's pretty obvious. It's actually quite a shame that more people don't know who Kyle Lewis is and don't pay attention to him because the Mariners are irrelevant and have been irrelevant for who knows how long now. But definitely, I would definitely encourage people to watch the Mariners a little bit more, especially for Kyle Lewis, because he's a very, very fun player to watch. And he's got one hell of a career ahead of him if this is what he's doing in his rookie season. So it's got to be Kyle Lewis. And then the NL, I mean, there's definitely some other people that you could throw out there, but it's got to be Devon Williams. I mean, one of the best relievers in the league. I mean, I know you didn't really look at the Rookie of the Years, but let me tell you this. And
is that the guy with the airbender?
Yes, basically.
Yeah, that guy's ridiculous.
Like, look at these numbers. Like when I tell you these numbers, like actually think about how ridiculous some of these numbers are. So in 27 innings, so obviously he's a relief pitcher. He had 17.67 strikeouts per 9. He gave up .33 home runs per 9. He had a .33 ERA, a .86 FIP, a 1.09 xFIP, a 1.4 F4, and then we can go to WHIP. He had a a .63 WHIP, and we go down to Sierra, and he had a 1.09. That's a 1.09 FIP. He had a 1.56 Sierra. Sorry about that. I can't talk, but it's just like, holy Jesus. Like, this guy was invincible. Like, nobody was hitting this guy at all. I mean,
Yeah,
that's ridiculous.
I mean he had a great season, but is there nobody else close that you can think of? Because I feel like it's really tough to give a relief pitcher Rookie of the Year because I feel like they only pitch an inning at a time. Really,
There's one guy, Jake Cronenworth from the Padres.
okay.
He's definitely one of them you could talk. Yes, because he had a 125 WRC plus, 25% above league average, 1.4 FWAR, decent OBP, decent slugging, decent WOBA. He had a 831 OPS. I mean, he was a very good rookie as well. But I mean, I know you said they usually don't give Rookie of the Year to reliever, but when I look at like a .33 ERA and a .86 FIP, it's like I gotta give it to Devon Williams. There's no other option.
It's just that I feel like it's tough to do it. You know what I mean? It's like you never know. I mean, I want to go.
I don't know. It's just like when I see those numbers, I gasp when I see those numbers. Like those are just incredible relief numbers. I gotta give it to Devon Williams. I just have to.
It's happened a couple times. Andrew Bailey, Neftali Feliz, Houston Street from the Oakland, whatever the name is, Athletics.
Mm-hmm.
Greg Olson, Baltimore. I mean, it happens, but it's not nearly as really. I mean, I can definitely see him winning it. That's for sure. That's really it. There's like 5 RPs in this entire history of baseball that won Rookie of the Year.
So,
oh boy,
is that the point where we go ahead and continue? Because I know you didn't really look at rookies of the years that much, but
rookies. I feel like that this was a very difficult year to look at rookies, especially for me because it's like there's so many rookies because so many people opted out and so many people like opted in and they're everywhere. It's just so much of a mess.
Alrighty. So now I think it's time to talk about
a rookie.
What's that?
Was Dustin May a rookie? I feel like he didn't play last year. Dustin May's rookie status is still intact, but I mean, 3-1, 257 ERA. I mean, maybe he gets a vote or two. I don't know.
The thing that kills Dustin May though is his 4.62 FIP. Like that's through the roof. So
that is really
it's not that great. So
imagine having a 100-mile-an-hour sinker and only striking out 7.1 people per 9.
And he has a 4.29 Sierra, so that, I mean, that's why I don't just look at ERA because it doesn't tell the whole story.
Right. No,
I wouldn't give it to Dustin May. I wouldn't.
How about Jesus Luzardo?
Like I understand that Dustin May's a very exciting pitcher to watch, but I mean he's been getting really lucky as of lately too.
He got a bad year this year, 3-2, 412. That's messy. Another guy who I'm amazed. Anyway, whatever. Oh, what about that guy from the Royals?
That is not descriptive in the slightest when you say the Royals.
Josh Staumont from the Royals.
Josh Donaldson, the bringer of rain.
Josh Donaldson will win MVP on the Royals.
I'm
talking about the guy who throws 102 miles an hour. He was 2-1 as a relief pitcher, 2.45 ERA, 225 innings pitched, 37 strikeouts and 25 innings pitched. 16 walks though, was a little wild. Faced 112 batters, 1.5 WHIP. I mean, he might get a vote, but that's it. Like I'm just thinking of pitchers who I remember in my mind. Maybe
it's not Devon Williams though. That's what I think. But all right. Moving on though to the last topic, and I think probably the most important topic to talk about is the postseason. Now, we could go through individual brackets and seeds and go through them. I think we should leave out the Yankees for now, just so we're not biased. So I think we should just kind of go rapidly because if we could sit here and talk 20 minutes about each matchup, but we definitely don't have the time to go through that. So let's just kind of rapidly go through it. So Rays and Blue Jays. Obviously, I'm picking the Rays. I think that's pretty easy said than done. Yeah, unless the Blue Jays somehow surprise me, but I just don't see it. Then we go, like I said, we'll talk about the Yankees in a bit, so we're going to skip through that. Then we go to the Twins and Astros.
Twins.
I think it's going to be Twins. Obviously, the Astros have struggled this year.
I mean, I'll talk really quickly about it. I mean, I feel like the Astros are going to have to rely on McCullers to pitch like 3 complete games in this one. I mean, really, they don't have any pitching, and they don't have any hitting either, and they're not playing at home either. Whatever.
And I think you said the Twins have the best record at home too, I believe.
They have a 24-7 record at home or something similar to that.
Good luck, Houston. You have fun in Minnesota. Then we go to the next game. We go to the Athletics and Sox. This was actually one of the more difficult ones for you to pick because I like the A's, but here's the thing about the A's. I think not having Matt Chapman is going to hurt them a lot. So I had to go with the White Sox. I had to pick the White Sox just because Matt Chapman's out.
So. I mean, yeah, they've backed up into the postseason, but man, that if Giolito throws a good first game, they're dead.
And then we flip it over. We go to the Dodgers and Brewers. Do we even really have to talk about this?
With the Dodgers.
Definitely Dodgers. I'm not even going to talk about it. That's just obvious. Padres and Cardinals. I got to go with the Padres. The Padres are very exciting. I also, no offense to my family, who most of my family are Cardinals fans, but the Cardinals just don't look that intimidating to me. I could be wrong, but I just don't see them beating the Padres, let alone even if they get past the Padres somehow, they're going to get destroyed by the Dodgers, and I don't even think it's going to be close. So moving on, the Cubs and Marlins. I would love to see the Marlins win just because the Marlins haven't been relevant since, was it 2003? Actually, there's an interesting stat, by the way. There's an interesting stat, John. I want you to take this with a grain of salt. The Marlins have been to the postseason only twice in their franchise history. Do you know what happened both times they went to the postseason? They won the World Series both times they went to the playoffs. They haven't lost a postseason series in their entire history. Think about that for a second. I don't see it happening, but just think about that for a second. It's very interesting. I would love the Marlins to win just because. Why not? Mix it up. But the obvious favorite is the Cubs. Now, the thing with the Cubs is interesting is three people that are very key contributors, at least for as long as I can remember, except for this year. Baez, Rizzo, and Bryant. If they cannot get going, if they can't get it together and get it going in the postseason, the Cubs are going to lose. Point blank said. They need those guys to be on their game. They have not been good. They have not shown what they usually have shown in previous seasons.
I didn't realize the MLB The Show cover curse would hit this soon, but here we are.
And then we go to the Braves and Reds. I think it's gonna be the Braves, but I do. I know. The thing about it is we'll talk about it with the Yankees and stuff too, because we've talked about the one thing that the Indians have is pitching, but they also can't rely on their below average offense to carry their pitching every single game. It can't bail them out. But at the same time, with the Reds, it's like you're going to go against Bauer, Castillo, and Sonny Gray for 3 games. That's tough. That is very tough.
That Castillo is your third? I mean, that's tough. That's... Ooh.
But I still have the Braves going over. I think Freeman's just going to kill it. I mean,
I'll take the Reds in that one.
You think it's going to be the Reds? I would like to see the Reds just because... just like the Marlins, I would like to see new teams actually compete in the postseason. But if I'm taking the easy way out, it's got to be the Braves just because.
I feel like Joey Votto will wake up and then take that team to the promised land.
And if Joey Votto wakes up, that's scary. Like, that's going to be very scary if he decides to just snap out of it.
I mean, who's the Braves pitch? I mean, other than that, do they?
Max Fried will be back.
Are you sure?
Yeah, they were saying that he will be back and ready. Supposedly, which that is huge for the Braves because he has been outstanding. So I would like the Reds to win, but I think the easy way out is just taking the Braves. So we'll see. And then now we talk about the actual matchup that everybody cares about is the Yankees and the Indians. So a lot of people I see on Yankees Twitter are freaking out. They're very nervous.
Because they're Yankee fans.
Yeah, I mean, you could say that. Here's the thing about the Indians, and me and John talked about this before the podcast.
I forgot my name.
Sorry.
Thank God he got it right.
The pitching for the Indians is clear cut the best in the league. When we talk about both the starting and the bullpen, it's not even close. If you look at the F4, 11.4 F4, the closest to them is the Brewers with a 9.8. That's the only thing that's going to give the Brewers the edge over the Dodgers, but the Brewers, can't hit their way out of a wet paper bag, as you would say all the time. So that's why I just don't see them winning that.
They could hit water if they fell out of a boat.
But the Indians pitching is good from top to bottom. I don't think anyone's questioning that. The thing that the Yankees have on their side, however, is that when you look at the hitting core of the Indians, outside of Lindor and J-Ram, it's not that terrifying.
Look, I'm going to be honest with you. When you have Gary Sanchez out there and he's hitting 147 and he has the platoon advantage over the entire catching staff of the Indians, you know your team can't hit. Like, their catchers are hitting a combined, I think it's 125. That's tough. How do you do that? It's like having Madison Bumgarner would be a better catcher for that team. They have 3 defensive catchers.
I know you said this before, so I'm just going to go ahead and take the words out of your mouth and let everybody hear them. So if you look at, like, for example, the OPS, the Indians as a whole have a 689 OPS, which is 27th in the league. Do you know what teams are below that? Mariners, Rangers, and Pirates. That's rough.
What's Jacoby Ellsbury's career OPS with the Yankees? It's probably higher than that.
If it is higher.
What was it?
The Indians OPS?
Yeah, what was the Indians OPS?
The Indians OPS is .689.
Wow, impressive. They just barely did better than Jacoby Ellsbury in 2015 when he batted.
Nice. Awesome.
Nice.
That is splendid.
His OPS was 663 that year. So the Indians are essentially 2015 Jacoby Ellsbury.
So you look at not just OPS, but you go to slugging, 26th in the league, right? You go to slugging. The slugging that they have is a 372. Not good. Then you go to on-base percentage. On-base percentage, they're 19th, which is better, but it's a 317 on-base percentage. You go
oh, my God.
You go to WOBA. They're 26th in the league for WOBA with a 303. And then for WRC+, they are 27th in the league with 86. And then the last stat I want to go over is F4. They are 16th in the league with a 6.7 F4. So it's just like...
Seriously, I don't understand how the hell Shane Bieber ended up with 8 wins, because I feel like this team would never score any runs. Like, I feel like that he would just get DeGrommed every game where they don't score any runs for him. But somehow he managed to get 8 wins out of this. That's amazing.
That's a very good argument because the Mets had a better offense this year than the Indians did. So
that's so weird.
Take that how you will. Isn't that just like, honestly, like just kind of glazing at their offensive numbers? Isn't it just kind of insanity? And I haven't done this yet. I didn't do this, by the way. It would take me like 2 minutes to set it up. But after we're done with this podcast, I am very curious to go to Fangraphs and see how good the Indians are without Lindor and J-Ram. Let alone what happens if they don't have J-Ram at all.
If anybody who watches this has like some baseball simulation, can you put like the Mets offense on the Indians and see how well the Indians do this year? I'd love to find out. Because I feel like if you give Shane Bieber the Mets offense, this dude is winning 25 games this year. I mean, come on.
Yeah, definitely. And could you imagine if Shane Bieber was on like an offensive team? Like, I don't know.
Oh my God.
I don't know, the Yankees or the Dodgers or something.
31 games.
Like, he'd be untouchable if he was with the Dodgers or someone who has a high firepower offense. Like, it'd be dunzo. You'd have no chance of winning that game.
No way. Dead.
So,
like, that dude would be then. You know what? Then he's winning MVP. Because then he's winning 31 games, man. Literally 31 games.
So the first 3 games, if it goes to 3 games, that is. Hopefully it does.
Hold on. The first 3 games, as if there's a game after the first.
No, there isn't. There is not. There's only 3 games.
Made that mistake. I was like, oh, we'll win the 3rd game. Who's pitching the 4th game? And I was like, oh wait, never. Already eliminated. Not at that point. I don't care at that point.
So hopefully the Yankees go 2-0 and just get out of Cleveland with a breeze. That would be awesome. No stress, just stress-free. But let's talk about the pitching matchup. The first one is obviously going to be tough.
That is going
Cole
to be
versus Bieber is going to be incredible. That's going to be incredible to watch.
It's going to be incredibly boring to watch because there's going to be absolutely no offense for 8 innings of the game, and it's going to come down to like the 9th inning and onward. Remember, there's no stupid extra inning rules in the playoffs this year, so we're going to be playing potentially, an 11 inning game until Zach Britton gives up a leadoff walk and a double, and then we lose.
And then the second game is Tanaka versus Carrasco, and then the third
Another
game is undecided at the moment. Please, Zach versus who? J Happ, because J Happ's been pitching very well.
I would absolutely have to say J Happ, because J Happ, in my opinion, has had a better season than Masahiro Tanaka has, in my opinion.
And you have the stats to back it up too.
I disagree, but J Happ is. I mean, look, I'm a simpleton. I don't know how to read Sierra, but I can tell you that J Happ has like one less earned run in one more inning pitched, and has a higher WAR than Masahiro Tanaka, and has actually struck out more batters than Masahiro Tanaka, which is just downright weird to me. Like that just, I think he has. Like that just doesn't make sense.
Mm-hmm. So we talked about the Indians and pretty much what their struggles are. What are you expecting from the Yankees this series in general?
I expect there to be, you know what I would love to see, but you know what I would not expect? I want to see them carry this offense that they've been running recently with them. Now, hear me out. Like, you see Gardner pushing bunts in the left field line. You make J-Ram field those. You know what I mean? Like, I want to see them try to push some bunts here. Now, I don't mean like, oh, there's a run on second with no outs. Let's bunt him over. I don't mean that. At that point, swing for the fences. You know what I mean? Like, the odds are you're probably not going to score those runs anyway. But my point is that if you've got speed guys like Wade playing, or you've got speed guys like Gardner playing, or you've got Hicks playing, hit a bunt at the third baseline, make the pitcher come off the mound, disrupt his rhythm, do something, make him think about it. Steal bases. If you have a lead, steal bases, play aggressive, make them actually take outs, because if you make them throw over, eventually someone's going to throw it away. If you make them throw to second base, eventually someone's going to throw it away. No one's perfect every time. Force them to make errors. You know what I mean?
Definitely.
Do it. Make them work. And if they win the game, you make them earn it. It's fine. They played better, they won. It's fine. But make them earn it. Don't give it to them on a silver platter.
And you talked about this before before we did the podcast. The one thing that you're really concerned about, you think if there's anything that's going to blow it for the Yankees, it's not their pitching, their offense. It's going to be their fielding, because their fielding has been pretty much atrocious as of lately. It's been very, very bad. It's been very spotty. And I was curious if you could touch on that a little bit, because obviously we know the defense has been pretty atrocious, but just give me kind of your thoughts and opinions.
Weird. I mean, you've got Voit at first, who is obviously not a great defensive first baseman. That's a problem. Obviously, you're going to miss a lot of picks at first base. I mean, I feel like the fielding has been very lazy in terms of people throwing the ball to first base. And in reality, there's been a couple errors with Gary. I mean, I can explain this with his new stance. He wants to, in this new era of trying to frame pitches, he's obviously trying to make the pitch look great. So he's trying to catch the ball earlier and has to catch your interference errors, and that happens. You know what I mean? Like, you live with it. But, like, I feel like that in terms of our overall defense, I feel like that we do make plays. It's just that it seems to be the easy ones that everyone seems to get lazy on and just throws the ball away and ends up like everyone but Urshela has been just throwing the ball away recently. Like, every time Torres collects the ball, I'm just like, oh my God, throw to first, please. Don't throw it to the first row. Like, I have to clench every time at this point. It's just the worst.
Yeah, I feel that on 110% and on an emotional level. So here's the other thing I wanted to ask you too, because it's definitely gotten a lot of mixed reviews, and I could understand this. How do you feel about the fact that Kyle Higashioka is starting over Gary Sanchez for Game 1? It's tough. It's really tough.
Well, look, I don't really give a shit as long as we win the game. If we win the game, they can do whatever the hell they want. They can do whatever they can have Higashioka catch, and they can have Gary Sanchez delivering baseballs to the mound in an elf outfit. I don't give a shit. As long as we win, I don't care what they do.
Oh my God, that's a new one. Where'd you come up with that one from? Did you watch watch Elf or something lately? Is it Christmas spirit time?
I was thinking he just like wraps them up in little presents and hands them to the umpire, and the umpire's got to unwrap the box. I was just thinking that, new COVID protocols. I don't know. I don't give a shit. look, if Higashioka and Garrett Cole, I think this goes beyond the fact that look, Higashioka is a pretty good pitch framer. He's pretty good behind the plate, but obviously he can't handle a rundown. that scares me. But Higashioka and Cole have this chemistry that goes back way a long time ago. So I don't feel like Cole needs it, but I feel like that it would absolutely it wouldn't detract. So you might as well try it. You know what I mean? I feel like Higashioka can hold his own. I feel like you're definitely losing a bat in the lineup. I feel like Gary's been starting to come up big recently. Like he's come up big in clutch moments where we need him to come up clutching. And honestly, I feel like that Higashioka is a less hitter. He's a lesser hitter. I feel like this is Austin Romine syndrome, where all of a sudden a backup player hits a couple home runs, and everybody demands that they replace the guy who's starting, and that's not the way this works. Okay, there's a reason we play 162 games. We don't play 5 games. Okay.
Yep. I think it's going to come down to one of those situations where if Kyle Higashioka allows pass balls and just doesn't do anything at the plate and the Yankees lose, then everyone's going to be like, oh, I told you so. You should have started Gary. But if, Kyle Higashioka goes out there and even gets one hit that's, remotely productive and then is good behind the plate and the Yankees win, then everyone's going to forget about it. Like, it's not really going to matter. You know what I mean? Like, it's a tough decision to make. It really is. And that's the thing. Like, obviously, like you said, they're missing a bat with Gary, and I think his luck is starting to somewhat finally come around. It's not there yet. I think he's missing a lot of luck with how many times he barrels baseballs because he's in the top % for barrel baseballs.
It's ridiculous.
But, you're losing a bat, but it's like at the same time though, Garrett Cole pretty much almost demanded that he wanted Kyle Higashioka behind the plate.
I feel like he just doesn't care. You know what I mean? Like, you could literally put up, you can take Plank from Eddie, put him behind the plate, and he would still call a pretty good game. Like, Garrett Cole doesn't need a good catcher behind the plate. I mean, let's be real here. He did very well. I think they had, Martin Maldonado behind the plate? And, he's not exactly a great defensive catcher. Mm-hmm. Who is the catcher? No, it was Robinson Chirinos. I don't really know him as a great defensive catcher. Like, it was more like a slugger when we played against him.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, I don't feel like you need a great defensive line behind the plate to call a game for Garrett Cole. You really just need a guy to just, have good chemistry with him. I feel like Garrett Cole is the kind of the guy that will just pitch well regardless of who's behind the plate. But like I said, I don't think it detracts. But I feel like that if I will hammer this home, I will put this on my gravestone. Gary needs to go to right field. Seriously, stop doing this. At some point, you need to say to yourself, okay, Gary's getting unlucky. But then you have to say to yourself, like, okay, why is Gary getting unlucky? Well, because he has 115-mile-an-hour bolts into the shift every time. And they're playing, beyond the grass because basically, they know he's going to hit a rocket right towards them, so they're playing back. It's like the Joey Gallo treatment. There's 6 outfielders out there, and then they all throw the ball to first base. I think his BABIP this year is 140, which is shocking. It's crazy. I feel like Gary leads the league in expected batting average, but discrepancy between expected batting average and actual batting average. I feel like that's it. It's crazy to me.
Definitely.
Every game he hits a ball with an 800 expected batting average, and it just gets flagged down. It's crazy. I don't understand it. Like that home run against the Blue Jays, that should have been a home run, but
Oh my! Let's just not even talk about that. That gives me nightmares. I just don't even want to talk about it. He deserved that on every facet of the game. I'm pretty sure it had an expected batting average of 880, and it still didn't go out of the park. That's just been his luck this year. It's just been terrible. It sucks. He deserves better than what he's doing. But I do agree with you. He lives and dies whether he hits most of his, he's directing most of his hits and pushing them to right center. I agree with that because that's when he's at his best. And
Gary has enough power to go to right center and hit the ball out. We know this. That was his formula against David Price. And you know what? He hit David Price pretty well. You watch him, he hits everything to right. When Gary is right, he goes to right. It gives him longer time. He can react later to the ball because it's an inside-out swing. I mean, you can't take everything to right, but you can at least try.
Definitely.
He hits the ball with authority to right field. It's crazy. I remember specifically, I say this every single time I see Gary Sanchez play. I remember the one at bat he had against Ken Giles because I was at the game, and Ken Giles is throwing 99 miles an hour, and Gary Sanchez, with a hit and run on, hits the ball to right center and knocks in 2 runs, and then we win the game. When Gary hits to right and doesn't pull off of the ball, he is a different hitter.
Just point blank and simple. It's as simple as that.
That is a scary hitter right there, and he can pull pitches. It's funny. I don't want to make the comparison, but it's like LeMahieu. You know LeMahieu is going to take everything to right field, and he has tremendous success. But you know that he can pull a ball whenever he wants to, and you know he's going to hit it with authority. It's just like that. Gary has turned on changeups before. He's seen them, and he's pulled on, like, I specifically remember him hitting a changeup about 7 miles off of Matt Boyd in Detroit one year, and that was like the longest home run to Tiger Stadium that's ever been hit. But like, he seems to have been coming around recently. I know it's shocking, but it looks a lot better. He's been a lot better. You can take the floor. I want to look up his batting every month.
I mean, I don't really need to say anything else other than that. You pretty much hit the nail in the coffin. I mean, he lives and dies by right center field.
I'm telling you, Gary Sanchez is out hitting the entire Cleveland Indians catching roster. So please, it could be much worse.
And here's the last thing, because I don't want to go too in depth in the postseason because we have no idea what's going to happen afterwards. So before we start talking about the second round, as far as the ALDS and NLDS is concerned, we'll wait to talk about that until it happens, and then continue the process with the ALCS, NLCS, and then the World Series and so on, whatever. But I think the last thing that we should talk about, the very last thing we should leave out on this podcast, and I know we talked about it a little bit before we started the podcast, because you mentioned it. You mentioned the idea of having Brett Gardner playing over Clint Frazier.
Yes.
So I already know the reasoning, but I want you to explain your reasoning to everybody watching this video, what your reasoning for that is.
It could be heresy, but I want you guys to hear me out here. So I have nothing against Clint Frazier. I think he's a tremendous defender, and I think he's amazing with the bat. Legendary bat speed. Crazy good batter. Unfortunately, as it turns out, Clint Frazier's in the middle of a slump right now, and Brett Gardner's actually heating up right now. And honestly, in my opinion, I feel like I want to go with the hotter batter, the guy who's had playoff experience to play in a position that is actually quite strange. I mean, if you've never played in Cleveland, it's very similar to Boston, where there's a giant wall out there. Brett Gardner knows how balls come off the wall out there. He's played out there before multiple times in the playoffs. Like, I want to go with the guy who has experience out there in left and is hitting and is definitely playing a little bit better right now. I mean, you see Clint Frazier, like, he seems frustrated. Like, you see him snap the bat over his knee and you see him throw the helmet. Now, I like seeing that at players because they're furious with themselves. However, I don't need a guy to come in there. Like, what if Clint Frazier comes in there and he goes 0 for 2, and then he just comes up to the plate next time trying to really, really push himself that time? Like, I don't know if I want to see that this month. That's just me. So, in my opinion, I want to go with the guy who's been there beforehand, is playing the hotter bat right now, has a lefty matchup against a right-handed pitcher who's potentially is a Cy Young winner. I like Gardner. My answer is the right answer, but I wouldn't lose any sleep playing Brett Gardner in left field come tomorrow.
Definitely. You know what my reasoning is going to be. Obviously, we know Brett Gardner's elite defensively. I don't think we need to talk about that. I do see where you're coming from as far as the fact that, Progressive Field is kind of similar in left field like it is in Fenway, as there's a giant wall. It's a lot different to play in those types of ballparks than the majority of ballparks in left field, which you could probably agree with because of the massive wall that is both at Fenway and at Progressive Field. And obviously, Brett Gardner's had more experience. Brett Gardner also has more postseason experience. He just has more experience as a player in general. But here's the thing. While I do somewhat agree with the fact that Brett Gardner is heating up right now, and I do firmly believe that a lot of this isn't even necessarily Brett Gardner's fault. I mean, he still has a issue of, just completely not hitting pitches down the middle and just refusing to swing at them. I always say there's not a duo stronger than Brett Gardner and not swinging at pitches down the middle. Like, I mean, that's been a constant problem. But I mean, I love Gardner. I'm pretty sure everybody does. I mean, he's been around for ever.
How can you how can you not like Brett
He's
Gardner?
been around for a decade with this team, over a
His
decade.
His story is one of the best stories you've ever heard in your life in terms of a player who made it. He is the guy that you root for.
Like I said, no hard feelings for Brett Gardner at all. I mean, I have nothing to complain about. He's been here for forever. Like I said, more than a decade now. But if I'm looking, even though Brett Gardner, I would say, his luck is starting to be on his side, because I think a lot of the time he was hitting the ball pretty hard and just had nothing to show for it. He was kind of getting the Gary Sanchez treatment. He just was, although his barrel percentage isn't that high, I definitely do think Gardner was getting the end of the stick. A lot of the times he went up to the plate, he would hit the ball hard and had nothing to show for it, which is really unfortunate because we know Gardner's a better hitter than that. Not saying Gardner's an elite hitter, but he's definitely a better hitter than what he was doing this year.
He's a solid major league hitter. He is a guy that you would absolutely have in your roster. He's solid. He does well.
With that being said, though, like I said, I respect your opinion and your arguments. You could be right, and I could be wrong. Could be vice versa. Who knows? We'll see what they decide.
I feel like you can go right either way. I feel like that there's no right answer. I feel like it's just,
I would have to go with Clint Frazier personally, just because if you compare their offensive stats just this year, I mean, Frazier only has 2 more plate appearances, so I mean, that's pretty much as even as you're gonna get it. Only 2 more plate appearances. That's not that big of a deal. It's irrelevant basically. But you look at the stats, and it's like Frazier is obviously better in average. He's also better in on base percentage. He's better in slugging. He's better in WOBA, better than WRC plus. Brett Gardner is only 10% above league average in WRC plus, while Clint Frazier is 49%. Clint Frazier has a 1.4 F4, while Brett Gardner has a 0.6 F4. I mean, like you said, it could go either way. I get it, because I know that while Frazier has been one of the better outfielders in the league, you made it very clear that that's because he's been playing right field. Now that Judge is back and he's playing left field, he actually has struggled quite a bit. He has a negative ultimate zone rating and a negative, I don't know about his outs above average, but I do know he has a negative ultimate zone rating and he has a negative defensive run saved in left field. And when you multiply that and consider the fact that they're playing at Progressive, where, like you said, is somewhat like Fenway because of the big green wall, the big wall that they have in left field, it could cause problems. It could be a recipe for disaster. But who knows? Who knows? Clint Frazier could completely prove you wrong. Who knows? Gardner could come out, they could put him in the lineup over Frazier, and Gardner could go, 3 for 4, all I know. I mean, the odds are against him going 3 for 4 against a guy like Bieber, but who knows? I mean, I've seen weirder things in baseball. Baseball is one of those sports where you just can't predict anything. Who knows? I mean, anything can happen. Here's the thing. I'm not going to lose any sleep over it because I can rely on the rest of the guys in the lineup, You got DJ, you got Voit, you got Urshela, you got Hicks, who Hicks walks a lot. I still think, we've had our arguments about where Hicks should be at the lineup, but definitely Hicks walks a lot. He just gets on base. You got Judge, you got Stanton. I mean, I would hope Gleyber Torres would get going now. Gleyber Torres is a better hitter than what he's shown this year. I mean, like I said, I'm not losing any sleep over it. This is a good lineup. This is a really, really tough lineup to face, even for a guy like Shane Bieber. This is a very intimidating lineup. So if they go out and say, we're going to have Brett Gardner over, Clint Frazier because of the defense, I'm not going to lose any sleep over it. If they go out and put Frazier over, Brett Gardner for the rest of this playoff series or just this game, I'm not going to lose any sleep for that either, obviously. So I don't know. I think in general, the last thing I could say about this series is I don't think it's going to be an easy series because I think the Indians, although their offense struggles, their pitching is definitely going to be tough to hit. But the fact that even though the Yankees don't have a better pitching staff than the Indians do, they have a very solid pitching staff, and the Yankees have a considerably better offense than the Indians. So I might be biased, sure, who cares? But I think the Yankees are going to win the series and move on, and I think they're going to play the Rays, and that's where the real fun's going to begin. That's going to be where the real I said fun, but that might not be the right words if the Rays come out,
there is going
obliterating the Yankees again.
Yes.
And I don't know if I remember me like telling you this. You might remember this, But after that last game versus the Rays, I had a very strange feeling that was not the last time we would see the Rays. I had a very strong feeling that we would see the Rays again in the postseason, and it seems like that is a good possibility of that happening again.
But the important thing is we're not playing in the Trop.
That's very, very true. Do you know where we're playing? Because I do.
San Diego?
Yes, sir. In San Diego. So that will definitely be very interesting, to say the least.
The only thing that I will say about the difference between Frazier and is that I feel like right field's pretty easy to hit from a left-handed bat in Cleveland. I'm pretty sure Didi made pretty clear work of that against Kluber in 2017. So I feel like having a lefty bat in the lineup would actually not be the worst thing in the world.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think that's pretty much it. Everything we want to cover, because we don't want to go too far into the postseason. We want to wait till the first round's over before we, talk about the scenarios for the next round and the following rounds. But that's pretty much everything I got. Is there anything else that you would like to say? Forever hold your peace.
No, I'm good.
Are you sure? I feel like you have something really funny you want to show to the whole class. You want to show to the principal.
You can cut it out if you want, but I was gonna go like, "Go Tigers!
Go Tigers! Go Tigers! Go Tigers that are 0-1, 0-1 Tigers."
Go Tigers!
No disrespect.
Good to his wife. Good night, honey. Go Tigers!
Go Tigers! No disrespect to LSU, but they're not the same team without Joe Burrow. I'm sorry to say that. But I'm not clear to talk about football as much as I am baseball. That's a whole another can of worms. You don't want to get.
Let's talk about Rutgers.
You don't want to get this guy going, in terms of Giants football. We just won't. We just won't. So you just save your piece. You don't say anything, because I know what you'll say about Giants football. It's not pretty. That's all it comes down to it.
At least we're not the Jets.
That is true. So, but man, that's tough. New York isn't exactly a football town this year. And they haven't exactly been for a while now, because, well, you got Buffalo, the Bills, but as far as New York City is concerned, the Jets and Giants, not so much. I can understand why a lot of people would rather, watch baseball and skip football for the season. I don't blame them. That's tough, especially if you're a Jets fan. That's tough. That's hard. I don't know how they do it. I respect them. It's like Browns fans. I don't know how they do it. It's just crazy loyalty to me. I can't explain it. It's like the Knicks. I mean, the Knicks could lose every game, and the Madison Square Garden would still sell out.
The Knicks are not the norm. They are the exception, because for some reason, they are like the worst team ever, but for some reason, everybody wants to go visit. Oh my God, let's go visit the Garden. And they all go watch this travish mockery of a basketball team pretend. It's like watching the team from Space Jam after the Monstars take their talent away. That's what that team is every single time. God.
That's a very, very accurate representation. Very accurate imagery that you just displayed.
There's a whole generation of kids that do not understand what I just said.
No, not at all. But that's about it.
Go watch the movie.
Definitely, go watch that movie. Link it in the description.
Do you realize in 10 years there's gonna be that movie goes out and people are like, who is this Michael Jordan guy?
That's really sad to think about. That's
They're
very depressing to think about.
Oh, he's funny, and who's the guy that they don't even know who Larry Bird is either? He's in that movie.
Who's this Michael guy? Who is this Michael guy? I have no idea who he is.
Who's this Michael Jordan guy? They're gonna be like that. Don't take that out of context.
But that's about it. I hope you guys did enjoy the podcast.
I hope you guys enjoyed talking about Space Jam and.
Hopefully the next podcast.
Like a Space Jam reference today, but here we are.
Hopefully the next podcast will not contain A, Space Jam content, and B, LSU Tigers content. It will stay strictly baseball and Yankee baseball at that.
You're the one who's like, oh, don't talk about the Jets and Giants, and then proceed to talk about the Jets and Giants.
I had to. I couldn't help myself. But that's about it, guys. I hope you guys do enjoy it. We'll probably get a podcast out on Wednesday before the second game comes out. At least I would like to get as many podcasts out after each individual Yankee game that plays, depending on how far they get. Even if the Yankees so happen to lose this series, or whenever they lose, if they do lose the series, if they win the World Series, awesome, fantastic. That's obviously the goal. But even then, we'll still be doing podcasts, because even if the Yankees are out of it, there's still postseason baseball to cover regardless.
No, I maybe should be doing
So,
podcasts, except for I may be depressed.
I might be depressed out of my mind and I might need a drink of vodka or
Look,
two.
I'm gonna be honest.
But
I feel like
still
that
got
I
to
did
cover
not get enough
content.
baseball this season. I feel like I didn't get enough baseball this season. I waited so long for the games to come back, and the season's already over. And I'm just like, what happened?
Mm-hmm.
It feels like I've been in a coma for 3 months,
Mm-hmm.
and I come back, and the season's 3/4 of the way over. And DJ LeMay was hitting 590 for some reason. And it's like, what's going on here?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
But that's about it, ladies and gentlemen. Hope you guys enjoyed the podcast, and I hope you guys have a fantastic night and enjoy the baseball game.
Good luck.